guys. TrumpTalks with National Enquirer bombshells, Fox News surprises, and Hollywood tributes to John McCain. A Me Too shocker rocks Hollywood. Crazy Rich Asian school Melissa McCarthy. Big Bang gets the boot. All of this and more on Meet the Hollywood Press for August 26, 2018. I'm Alina Vission, and now your host of Meet the Hollywood Press, Joseph Kapsch.
Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Meet the Hollywood Press. Welcome back, Alina Vission.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here again today.
Me too. There's just so much Trump on my mind, though.
Trump, Pecker.
Welcome back to the show again, Anita Bennett.
Thank you very much.
I actually want to start off because Anita, by the way, has been lending her time to the show, and I need everyone to know because I'm a fan of your blog. She's the creator and editor-in-chief. What are you calling yourself, Anita?
Managing editor.
Managing editor. Creator and editor-in-chief of Urban Hollywood 411, and she's breaking scoops left and right. So check it out, urbanhollywood411.com. Drudge is picking you up, so
Yes.
Hello. You're on the map when Drudge picks up your stories. But I'm a fan. I'm reading your blog every day. It's what I like to say, and I don't know if this is offensive, but it's like smart urban Hollywood coverage. You know, different from a media takeout is it's funny, but it's more lower brow to mid brow, where it's like Anita writes almost like trade-like stories, but that are geared towards an urban audience. But anyway, check it out, everyone, because she's devoting her time for me as a friend and a great journalist here to the show, and I want to make sure everyone's checking out her blog.
Thank you.
First of all, it's a somber Sunday also, so there's a lot of deaths, and I just want to pay respect, obviously, first to Senator John McCain, who passed. We heard the announcement that he stopped treatment, and then it was 24 hours later almost that he passed away. He was battling brain cancer. The tribute started pouring in, and we're going to get to that a little bit more and how Trump plays into this, because obviously he plays into everything, but we just want to obviously pay our respects and just know that his loved ones were thinking about them, and thank you for your service, John McCain, to the country. Regardless of your political views, he's an honorable man and he was a hero, you know. Also, Neil Simon passed, so Hollywood, the tributes are pouring in there. And Robin Leach, hello, talk about the lifestyles of the rich and famous this week.
Yes.
And they always say famous people, it's more of a die in threes, right? And Robin Leach just brings me back to childhood, because I remember just always trying to simulate his voice. It's Robin Leach, lifestyles of the rich and famous. But it's that was sad to me. That felt like a whole end of childhood era. I guess I feel old is what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way.
It's the end of an era,
Yeah, it was an end of
especially
an
with
era.
those three passing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was also a mass shooting today in Florida, so we just want to send our thoughts to the victims and their families.
I hence to say thoughts and prayers, because it's never enough. Again, another mass shooting. It was at a Madden Live game tournament. I was driving here and I hadn't seen the latest update. I saw that there were fatalities as of when I was coming. Is there anything further either of you saw?
I saw, the last that I saw was 4 fatalities, but I'm going to look that up right now for us.
That's about the last thing I saw too, including the gunman who apparently took his own life.
Oh my God. Yeah. So yes, not a very uplifting Sunday. Hopefully, so let's start it. We've got so many things to get to, but I'm going to ask you too, because do you want to start with the Trump talks, or do we want to start with the buzzy topics of Hollywood? I mean,
let's start with Hollywood.
Okay, let's start with Hollywood. Okay, so basically, last week you were here when we were talking about Crazy Rich Asians, big opening, and buzz, and what the implications were going to be for Hollywood, and it held up extremely well. I think it was 6% off.
It fell. So this weekend it made $25 million. Last week about $25.6 million over the 3 days, because it opened last Wednesday. That is one of the best holdovers in history, and that means how much a film falls from week to week at the box office. So it only fell 6%. Miraculous.
Great.
Yeah,
and it beat Melissa McCarthy. Okay, so that's what I wanted to more also talk about. It was bound that she was going to have a tanker sooner or later, right?
Yeah.
But what do you think went wrong there?
I think it was a couple of things. First of all, the premise for the Happy Time Murders was a little bizarre. Humans living in a world of puppets, Muppets. It was very strange. There was a lot of sex that the puppets were having. But I also feel like maybe Melissa's shtick the abrasive woman, brash, is just getting old. I don't know. What do you think?
I was just gonna say, I feel like her, like, it's like it's starting to become, to me, and again, I know there's a lot of Tom Cruise fans. I'm not personally one of them, because I feel like Tom Cruise plays Tom Cruise in every Tom Cruise with a mask, Tom Cruise as a fighter pilot, Tom Cruise as a vampire. Like, it's just Tom Cruise
running.
Like, so it just feels like Melissa McCarthy is the same to me. It's like Melissa McCarthy with a different color hair, but the same character from Heat. Melissa, you know, she's a cop. I laughed at Heat, but I feel like her movies were getting, for me, progressively like stupider as
this movie looked particularly ridiculous.
Yes.
But it did feature an all-star cast. You had Maya Rudolph, Elizabeth Banks, and Joel McHale. So I'm a little surprised that it did so badly. It only made $10 million at theaters across the country.
It has
That's pretty
a 22 on Rotten Tomatoes.
22, and it also was, it wasn't like a small opening, like it was opening in a large amount of theaters. I think, you know, it was in
more than 3,200 theaters.
That's bad.
So it just, basically, it's a colossal
failure. Yeah. But, you know, she's... Sorry, Melissa. We do love her, but the other thing, what was the one where I think it's hard act to follow with the Mila Kunis and from oh my God, it's escaped me, from SNL. Kate McKinnon.
Oh yeah.
That felt like that was the comedy that everybody, for females, like this summer, like this. Yeah, the spy who.
Yeah, but that tanked too.
Right.
It did, but that was like, but Happy Time Murders, even in comparison to, at least to the premise of that, looked like so ridiculous. Like, it's like, and also the fact that they were releasing a Melissa McCarthy headlining movie in the dead doldrums of August, because a lot of times theater, like, they're burning off stuff too in August. It's like that March month.
We say the doldrums of August. That's something that people in the industry love to say. But my thing is, if you have good content, people will come. I mean, Crazy Rich Asians proved that.
Yeah.
So this movie it wasn't the right time.
Yeah.
The premise didn't work, and I feel like people are kind of over Melissa's shtick.
So after you missed, Alina was out with a personal thing last week, and you missed. We talked about Crazy Rich Asians, and I was saying to her and our guest Linda that even as well as it did, the coverage as you looked across all the headlines were like that is the big surprise opening, the big this. So then Monday morning after we did the show, did you see your inbox how it was like Crazy Rich Asians pulls it off, Crazy Rich Asians opens big? I was like, oh my God, does anyone have anything else to say? Then there was even like the headlines that were like, inside how Crazy Rich Asians pulled it off. It's like, how it pulled it off is like, hey, the public has always wanted to see movies like this, and it's a good comedy, and it didn't matter if the people were Asian, Latin. It's always, to me, been a Hollywood problem, not a movie-going public problem. They were always going to come see movies of people that necessarily don't look exactly like themselves. It
has universal themes. It's a romantic comedy, and great actors, and so it really resonated with the audience, not just Asians, because I think Asians made up about 38% of the audience. It resonated with America.
Exactly.
And there's already a sequel in the works, so we should tell viewers that. So I saw that news came out, and then a lot of buzz around the Netflix rom-com Asian.
Themed. Linda talked about that last week.
Yeah. So I think it's good. It's a win for Asian August and just all of us.
It's just good to see diversity and people represented on film and on TV that hasn't gotten that in the past, because it's very important, and I think Hollywood is finally realizing how important it is and how it can, change the box office.
Yes.
Yeah, and their opinions.
It's a very, very good win for all of us. Okay, so I want to get back to, sort of circling back. So a big story broke this week. Asia Argento, who was considered like a pioneer in the whole Harvey Weinstein Me Too movement, because she was, I think, like the second or third.
She was one of the first.
Yeah, one of the very first.
Was interviewed in the New Yorker article.
Exactly. So she was in the Ronan Farrow original article. Well, a story broke, and by the way, I just want to start by saying I'm reserving judgment on this one, because I think that more facts need to come to light. I think it's so quick to jump one way or the other. And so to just recap a little bit. So it was revealed in a New York Times blockbuster report that she basically paid off her own accuser that she allegedly sexually assaulted, and I believe he was like a guy that she was working with on a movie or something, right?
Correct. Yeah. He was 17 years old. His name is Jimmy Bennett.
Jimmy Bennett. Thank you.
Former child actor.
Yes.
Former child actor. And so basically, when she came forward, led this movement. Then the news broke that she had paid off, and then it was like, what a big blow to the Me Too movement. So this is what I want to ask, okay? Because I think that could be two things. This could essentially be a guy who was extorting her, because what was he, 17? Mm-hmm. Okay, no one knows what happened but her and him, right? But if you look at the pictures of them together, he's not like a tiny kid that's like, so who knows? I have my own, opinions about men being, I'm trying to figure out how exactly men get sexually assaulted short of if they're drugged by a woman. But maybe that's just me, and again, that's my opinion. So if she was, say, extorted and just paid him off to just keep it quiet, that's one thing, but no one knows that, okay? But the Me Too movement, Alina, what do you think this does for it? Like, that she came out so strongly and led the charge against Harvey Weinstein, that to have this, if this is true, this skeleton in her closet.
I'm not making excuses for anyone, but all of us have things that we wish we hadn't done.
Yeah.
I don't think we can hold her up as the one person to bring down the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What she allegedly did is against the law in California, and it supposedly happened here at a hotel in this area.
Yeah.
So if it's true, she did break the law, and the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department is apparently investigating.
Yeah.
She allegedly paid off this young man $380,000. I've seen the pictures that were leaked.
We actually have the pictures if you guys want to put
Yeah.
them.
Okay. They both look like they had a good time. He was underage, so I'm just going to leave it at that. For me, the most shocking thing was that her former boyfriend, the late Anthony Bourdain, apparently paid off the young man. Yeah, that was really shocking for me. And I hate to see, Bourdain's name sullied because he's not here to defend himself, but it's a really sad story all around.
Yeah.
And I don't think I actually had some journalists call me and ask me my opinions, and I said, we're talking about the New York Times, we're not talking about a little blog. Not knocking my blog, but it was the New York Times. It was deeply reported. They had copies of legal documents. They also had copies of pictures and selfies, which they did not release. These pictures were released to TMZ.
Right.
So this is my question, though. So it's just a matter of his age, though, because to me the pictures look like that was not like that was consensual on his part. So it doesn't matter, is what you're saying. It's just because of his age.
If this is true, she broke the law.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was underage. She was 37 at the time. He was 17.
Yeah.
They had worked together, and he did meet up with her. But as the adult in the room, you have to draw the line.
Exactly. She knows better as an adult. But
She does know better.
17 in California. Against the law, definitely. I agree with you. I don't think that this one thing is going to bring down the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that, when that hashtag started, there were millions of women across the country and across the world that came out and said, hey, this has happened to me. It might not be in the entertainment field. It might be in some, other field. But it's that strength in numbers that just because one person has something personal like this, a downfall, doesn't discredit every other woman's or man's, voice.
It was interesting. There were such eloquent, like statements that came out afterwards, like by Mira Sorvino and by Rose McGowan, all of them just weighing in, and just you could see just like the heartbreak that oh my God, she was like on the front lines of this, like, but I do agree. I don't think that the movement's like, a fraud because of like one woman's sort of error and judgment, and because we all have error and judgment. But I guess for me as a guy, it's just, I think back to when I'm 17 and I'm like, those pictures don't look to me like he was having a terrible time. So it's sort of like, and then he took $300,000 from, and I kind of feel bad that Anthony Bourdain, deceased, is like being dragged through this, like let people like sort of rest in peace. Anyway, she hasn't made a statement though since all of this broke.
Actually,
She did.
She has, and we have it up. I think if we can pull it up, she says, I strongly deny and oppose the contents of the New York Times article dated August 20th, 2018, as circulated also in national media, national and international news. And she goes on to talk about what happened with Bourdain, how Bennett came to her and pretty much said, I want this money. He knew that she was dating Anthony and, gave him the money. And
also, it feels like it's just everything that's lost in this is that Harvey Weinstein still did assault her, right? Like, that hasn't changed. I mean,
allegedly.
I mean, allegedly assaulted her.
Right.
All of a sudden, that's like completely erased from the conversation here. You know, now it's just like, oh, she paid off a 70. Anyway, I think that this isn't going to be the first, though, because now it feels like the direction of sort of Me Too now, like, after the Les Moonves article, I felt a turning point in that journalists want to be more cautious now, because it's and now I feel like they're looking the other side of it to say, looking into more of the women who have come forward in these high level cases to see what their backgrounds sort of tell them. Do you know, like, there seems to be a dynamic, like a shift in the dynamic of the reporting.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to be interested to see how this all continues to play out.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, and so also, I want to revisit the VMAs really quickly. Because I got a lot of feedback, because last week, Alina, we were talking about, when I come in that Sunday, I had not known that the VMAs were going to be the next Monday, because that's how little fanfare I felt was online, was anywhere, and my two panelists were agreed. Now, we admittedly say, disclaimer, we're not their target demo, although I don't know, millennials that they want to target aren't either. Right. So after we go into this whole thing, like questioning, are they still relevant? The next day, the ratings come out, and we were vindicated, because it was an all-time historic low. And all the headlines read were like, low on star power. The VMAs hit all time. It was, and by the way, I couldn't even get through them. I couldn't get through the show. I was actually annoyed that I was taking up time on Sunday, like after I got off this show, and I go, this is so terrible. I don't even know what to say about it. But just put a fork in them. Like, I think they're done, or like
revamp it.
Yeah, I don't think they're done, because as we said last week, they make too much money for the host city and for the network. However, it was a train wreck show. I feel like I lost 2.5 hours of my life that I will never get back. It definitely needs a dramatic revamp, like the Academy Awards. But that's a different topic. But it was kind of low on star power. I didn't think a lot of the performances were that great. And can we just talk about that Madonna quasi tribute to Aretha Franklin? What was that?
So I felt like she got that it was overly harsh, the criticism. But that's, again, as a disclaimer, I'm a longtime Madonna fan. I grew up on Madonna. She was my Britney as a kid growing up. I feel like Madonna people look for her to screw up, because like, she gets pummeled online, and especially I think the younger generation online now, who didn't grow up with her and understand that if there wasn't a Madonna, there wouldn't have been a Britney, a Christina, an Aria. Like, she paved the way for...
This is true, but sometimes less is more. Aretha is one of the greatest singers ever on the planet.
Yes.
And Madonna put out a statement the next day and said, I was asked at the last minute to share some words. She just rambled on and on, basically about herself living in a crack house when she was a struggling artist. Like, we don't care. This is supposed to be about Aretha. She could have said something for 10 seconds. This woman inspired me. And, she talked about singing one of her songs at an audition, and it was like, oh God, please don't let Madonna try to sing an Aretha song.
Remember when she screwed up the Prince tribute?
Oh, that was so
this
sad.
Is the second tribute.
That was sad. Remember when they shaded her too, right during like the show? Like, the BET like ran a promo like practically during it. Like, we got you, Prince.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I am a Madonna fan too. Way back in the day, Holiday and Material Girl. I loved all those songs. But sometimes it's just best to either say, I'm not the person to do this, or just keep it really short. It made no sense.
But to her, but according to her Instagram statement the next morning after all the criticism, she said that all they said was share a personal anecdote about how she inspired you. So it was like, that's what she did.
Well, but she went into a whole lot of her life, which we didn't need to hear. It was me, and it just, I was sitting there watching like, well, what's the point of this? Like, what about Aretha? I was really disappointed. So I'm looking for the Grammys and the BET Awards next year to properly show Aretha the respect that she deserves.
Agreed, because Fox News sure didn't show it to her.
Don't even get us started.
Aretha, can we talk about Aretha's funeral? It's going to be long. There are 19 acts booked to perform. It's going to be star-studded. Stevie Wonder, Jennifer Hudson, Jennifer Holiday, Yolanda Adams. I'm sure it's going to be a sang-off, but I can't wait for it.
Yeah.
But, you know, while Aretha's on being brought up, you know, though, that the news broke that she has no will. Like,
Yeah, I read that.
How is that, like, even possible? Like,
Aretha lived life according to her own edicts.
okay.
And it's, you know, the Detroit Free Press, her hometown paper,
Yeah.
as well as TMZ both reported this.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's likely true. Her estate is supposedly valued at $80 million.
Oh, my God.
And that it's going to be tied up a long time in the courts because there was no will. It's really sad. And her legal advisor, financial advisor, went on the record and said he was after her to put together a will. I just don't think it was a priority.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate.
I always say, like, about not to get morbid, but like the same thing happened. God rest, my mom died when I was very early, when young, 22, and she was 44. And because she was so young, we had to deal with all of that during, like, her, not to get too personal, her death. I always say to people, get that done when you're like healthy and not having to think about death. You know what I'm saying? Because it's the worst when you like don't have it done and then like tragedy strikes. And I think it's probably a matter of like she started to get progressively older and in bad health, and it was like nobody wants to think about doing that and talking about that.
True, but
when
what's
someone's trying to get
interesting
better.
is that she supposedly planned her own funeral. So that's what I don't
That's a lot of
understand.
planning,
She planned her funeral, but she was not able to plan her estate. So it doesn't really make sense to me. However, Aretha, you know, she was from a different generation, and they said she really didn't trust a lot of people, and she would ask for payment in cash when she performed live.
Yeah.
And she would, you know, have like $25,000 cash in her purse as the upfront payment. So
I love that.
she did things her own way.
Well, you know, it was interesting when I started to read that she was in hospice. It reminded me of like Donna Summer. Remember how with Donna Summer it was like all of a sudden she died, but it was like you barely knew that Donna Summer was battling cancer all that time going up until when it's like it's private, but I respect it. You know, it's sort of like celebrities. I think of like the older generation, which I like, tend to be like private about that. It feels like today, you know, younger celebrities are documenting their colorectal surgery on Instagram nowadays.
Yeah.
It's just
everything.
Nothing's sacred anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So about her will, actually, CNN is stating that her entertainment lawyer, who's been representing her for decades, actually, you know, talked to her about doing a trust, and she just never got around to it.
Wow.
Yeah.
God bless her.
Yeah.
Okay, can either of you fill me in then about this beef that started at the VMAs with Nicki and Travis Scott? Because it's still going on.
Alina, that's your demo.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
You're not. She's younger. So.
Yeah, Alina, please. I want to be educated about this.
All right, so it's a long story, but pretty much in the gist of it, what happened was Nicki and Travis came out with albums approximately around the same time.
Okay.
Kylie Jenner posted an Instagram, I believe it was, kind of directing fans to listen to his album.
Okay.
So then Nicki went and said, oh, well, I would have had the #1 album had Kylie not have said...
Oh, go listen to his album.
Right, go listen to his album.
Well, it's kind of cheating. I mean, she has like 80 million or something. Because I know Kim has the most followers, right, out of them. Or did Kylie surpass her now? She has an insane amount.
I mean, it's crazy.
I mean,
the amount they have.
Snapchat stock. To be fair to Nicki, in Nicki's defense, Snapchat stock tanked when she said on Twitter, "Is anyone even using Snapchat?" And their stock plummeted.
Right.
So Nicki's not. To be Team Nicki here, she's not off base here that Kylie Jenner has that kind of influence online.
Right, but I mean, it is what it is.
It is
when
what it is.
You know?
Yeah, but you know what? But don't you want to? But that's not on the merit
It's
of the
not
album.
it's not on him.
Well, no. And how old is Nicki? I mean, Kylie's really young. Nicki is a woman. Not saying Kylie's not, but Nicki is so successful, and in the grand scheme of life, who cares? There are so many more important things happening in life. Like we just talked about, you know, the mass shooting today, homelessness, people who don't know where their next meal is going to come from. To be honest with you, I don't care.
You're right. I don't care. It's just like but you know that the sites out there, breaking news. Travis Scott.
Right.
I mean, I clicked on it and then I was mad at myself for clicking on it. I'm like, ugh.
I saw a headline in one of my friend's Twitter feeds and literally text him to be like, did you mean to retweet this? And it was literally, no, hold on. It was literally like Nick Jonas went out to dinner by himself. And I'm not going to mention the site, but it's like, that's news. It was like, he's not broken up with Priyanka, and he went out to dinner without her. Why is this? And I literally said to my friend, like, you usually have like legit news in your feed. You sure you meant to retweet that?
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. I just think, like you just said, the world has shifted and media has shifted, and stuff like that is like inconsequential in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
But it's still funny.
We have kids in cages, and we're talking about Nicki Minaj and Travis Scott.
Right.
But can I ask one more question? Because her album, like, the reviews are like people either love Queen or they like think it's terrible. That one song where she's literally shading like everyone on the planet. But are those true anecdotes, or is that a joke? Is like, did they know? Like, is that really like true shit that she's saying? Excuse my language. Oh my god.
I don't know. I mean, she does. I was just listening to it last night. They played it on the radio.
It's a good
does
song,
really
actually.
shade everyone.
Everybody.
I love, the Notorious B.I.G.
The
beat.
entire song is like one big diss after diss after diss after diss.
It's just like,
is it tongue in cheek? I don't know.
I don't know. Why put yourself on blast like that? Like,
because now everyone's coming at her because she's been saying other things. She compared herself to Harriet Tubman this week as well. I mean, it's just been, there's been a lot.
Oh, God.
Well, and I didn't understand, I don't know, like some of these people she brought up, did she have relationships with these people? Like, I don't get it.
Anyway.
It's art.
Moving on.
The eye of the beholder. I don't know.
Really quickly, because there's not much to say about it, but Big Bang Theory, which was on like 12 seasons on CBS, ended up getting canceled this week, so there was like hubbub online. But I was reading that it was really came down to like money, I guess, because like there's people that are saying like it was on Jim Parsons like for the show that it could have came back. But here's the thing: 12 seasons. What more is there to do with that show? Like,
sometimes it's better to go out on a high note. We saw that with Seinfeld.
Exactly.
We saw that with Sex and the City.
Yep.
I'm surprised people still tune in every week for that after 12 years, but.
The one thing I just want to comment about it, though, is where it's again, despite his troubles with the article, Les Moonves, I do like that CBS, out of all the networks, seems to not allow their talent and their producers hold them hostage. Like, it feels like if that was like, remember NBC? Friends, okay, here, take $1 million if you come back one more season. It's like you can each have $1 million. It's like CBS was basically probably at that point was like, okay, screw it, we're not going to pay this much money. Like,
well, but holding the network hostage, obviously the network has the money.
Yeah.
So these shows are making a boatload of money, and a lot of it is based on the actors, the writing as well, the direction.
Yes.
But let's face it, most people in America tune into shows because of the talent.
The talent.
Right.
So
thank you for saying that, because I feel like I'm told that I'm like vapid and like stupid because I have loyalty to actors and actresses when I watch things. Like, even if a show could be subpar, but if it's an actress or an actor, like I'll watch Jennifer Aniston in anything, and whether the episode's good or bad. Granted, it's always good in my eyes, but I'll watch certain actors and actresses, but it's almost like, oh, the writing's terrible. Like all those like sort of TV snobs online, like the writing's just terrible. It's so vapid. It's like, but I like to watch this person.
Yeah.
Like, and honestly, Big Bang, are people like, I love Big Bang, the writing's so sharp. Or are they like, I love Big Bang, Jim Parsons funny, Kaylee Kowalko's hot.
Yeah.
It's, whatever. It's that elitism when it comes to TV. I hate it. But anyway. Okay, so let's move on to Trump. TrumpTalks.
Oh, boy.
Because it's loaded up this weekend.
Sure is.
Okay, I want to start from a journalism angle, though. Okay, so as we all read earlier this week, bombshell. National Enquirer David Pecker, who runs AMI, which is the parent company that runs tabloid National Enquirer, David Pecker, cut a deal for immunity in that whole case with Michael Cohen around Trump allegedly paying off the porn stars that he had affairs with. So what I want to ask about this, because it's a mess, it's very messy. It's like National Enquirer guy gets immunity. Why is it that we have an FCC that basically will get on a network, right, about like saying, say, curse words? Why is like an AMI and a tabloid press still even able to exist is more the question that I want to know. Because you essentially have an operation that is in the business of like covering up truth and spreading lies. And there's no one to regulate this. Like, there's nothing that can be done from a governmental standpoint about, because that's where I started to get my brain was turning and go, why is it still allowed to even exist that they can do all of this?
The First Amendment, it always probably comes back to that, I would assume.
It is a very very interesting point, though. And if you looked at all the headlines, there were some sites that made graphics of, there was a campaign in the Enquirer to discredit Hillary Clinton during the 2016 presidential campaign. And they had these covers that said she was dying and, you know, she was having seizures and all these things, and she wasn't fit to be president. I mean, clearly we know they were in Trump's pocket.
So, interesting, though, in the story that they're dropping like flies because every one of Trump's allies are cutting deals and flipping on him. So with the David Pecker in particular, though, do you feel like he should have been granted, or should he have been implicated in all of this? Or is it more value to them to basically...
I think it's probably more value to them to have him. He apparently has a vault or a safe full of recordings and dirty details on these payoffs. So I think it was... more important for them to get access to all the information he could provide.
I'm just offended by that entire operation of what they do on a daily basis, because we're getting kind of humanitarian, like in our thoughts today, where we were saying there's more important things. It's just like celebrities are humans too. They're in a business to basically dig up crap, dumpster dive, and then put out just outright false stories just to sell. Like when I'm standing in the food store line and I see these covers, I can't stop laughing because I'm like, there's Americans in the country that think that this stuff is real.
And that's the thing, like Nicki Minaj and Travis Scott, it's just like, okay, whatever. But this has international implications, national implications. They may have been able to impact some votes in the presidential election with their false information. Because this is actually important.
Right. Even if you're not picking up and buying the magazine, you see that. Yeah. And every time you go to the store, you're seeing that, and it gets implanted in brains. And like you said, it has real world implications. That's where we're living.
I'm going to do some more studying just because in saying what I said about the FCC and stuff, but it really is starting to bother me that it's like, why is this business of what they do allowed to continue? But you have so many regulations on so many other things in life that yet a tabloid company could just be like, we're going to put out this story that you're like sick and dying, and then we're going to pay off when you sue us, we're just going to take it from our fund to like pay you off to go away. It's just nuts to me.
I don't understand how they can just print outright lies. Right. And how they can continue to get away with it. I mean, full disclosure, I subscribed to the National Enquirer for years, but I stopped when they published the cover photo of Whitney Houston. And I immediately I drew the line, like, I cannot be a part of this. It's disrespectful in every way, and I wasn't even aware that they were printing so many lies. I mean, people would laugh at me, but I used to write a lot of obituaries, and they were really good at predicting which star would be next. They predicted Johnny Carson was going to die. They pay for information, and they get, stories from nurses.
I was going to say that. They have a lot of tipsters on payrolls at doctor's offices, plastic surgery offices. That's how it's not to say that everything in the tabloid, like where there's smoke, there's fire. I feel like it's based on sort of like something in there is real, but it's like, it's way hyperbolic, or it's way like exaggerated to the point of like ridiculousness, And so even like those photos, remember when they used to like with Lara Flynn Boyle, when she had her facial, she had changed a little bit, and they would just, the pictures that they'd always choose that were like the worst angle, the worst that, it just feels mean.
It's
to
very
me.
mean-spirited. And I would tell people who would, my friends who would ask me, why do you read that? And I would say, well, a percentage of this, I don't know what percentage, but a percentage of it is true.
It's true.
But again,
it's like, what do you know?
Yeah.
What is it that is true?
But they were spot on. They were the first to report that Ray Charles was ill. And, I started working on his obituary at that point. And he died a short time later. So,
well, just like they did break, to their credit, John Edwards. Remember John Edwards?
The Love Child.
The Love Child.
And I think Jesse Jackson's Love Child as well. They broke that.
Yeah, and there was one other legit news story. That they broke, and it's not coming, but there was like 3 different ones that I can think of that were like legit, and they did break them. But no one gives them credit when they actually do break them. Then they do their own reporting.
But for every solid they do, there's like 10
Oh my
cases
God,
of
10 million,
misinformation.
10 million cases.
Yeah.
But Alina, you especially, when we were talking about the show, pre-production of the show, and what we were going to talk about, you had raised this particularly. Was there any thoughts that you wanted to share additionally into this? Because you were like, oh, we got to talk about that David Pecker.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Obviously, I was looking for tweets to tie in, and there was a lot of Pecker jokes, so I had to look for ones that didn't have Pecker jokes.
Yeah.
But if we could pull this up, it's from Josh Marshall over at Talking Points Memo. He says, former LA bureau chief of National Enquirer says David Pecker killed multiple stories on Trump infidelities, Trump children, wife, ex-wives, Kushner's, all in the secret safe.
So there's some unlucky children out there that are also his, like...
Apparently so. And what, a doorman at like Trump Plaza has some information on an alleged love
they
child.
turn on him, by the way.
Well, I mean, that broke, Friday night?
Yeah.
And I think now some people might be lifted from the NDAs. So it'll be interesting to see this week especially what rolls out.
And people turn quickly when there's a threat of imprisonment.
Well, this is where I think what people who are in the know and are working journalism or working media know that this, like I had not said before, like I thought Trump was going to be untouchable. I never thought Russia was going to do anything,
Really?
nothing was going to come of it. And this was the turning point for me when you saw the Cohen dominoes start to fall this week, that for the first time I was like, oh, he might actually go down in flames, like spectacular flames.
We got the announcement of Cohen's deal on the same day as Manafort's conviction.
Right.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah, but by the way, Paul Manafort, I do agree in this sense that whole case was just like they stumbled upon all of these crimes in their thing. He technically is guilty for what he did, but it does have nothing to do with what they were. It was like they stumbled upon it and it was turned over. I just think, they need to crack the Trump maid, the longtime maid. Whoever that is. If we know Trump, I'm sure it's not someone white. We know that.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. Okay, so moving on to one more thing. So John McCain, as we talked earlier in the show, passed away. So the interesting thing was a report broke today that McCain had said before he died that he didn't want Trump at his funeral, and then Obama and Bush are supposedly going to deliver eulogies.
Yeah.
Now, when Trump went on to pay respect in his... And by the way, not a very it was like in my opinion, based on how Trump tweets, it was like the obligatory tweet, like, okay, let's honor him, he died. Hollywood,
with an exclamation point at the end.
Yes. Hollywood started piling on him like they usually do, but this was even like Kathy Griffin quote tweeted him and was like, keep his name out of your mouth.
Yeah.
And it really is he said horrible things about John McCain.
He really did. And I read actually those reports, I read them yesterday. The New York Times and CNN both reported it. That McCain helped plan out his funeral. And he's going to have state funerals in Phoenix, the capital of Arizona, and in Washington. His body's going to lie in state. I don't want to say state funerals. His body will lie in state in both places. But Mr. Trump said some horrible things about Senator McCain.
Yeah.
He was very disrespectful. And then we had the whole incident in the White House where a White House staffer, they were talking about some upcoming legislation, and someone said, well, McCain will be dead anyway soon, so he can't oppose this.
It was
It
was the secretary of home. It wasn't Homeland.
It was somebody under.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but there was no immediate denunciation of this.
There never is.
And so I don't blame Mr. McCain for saying that he did not want Trump at his funeral. If you read President Obama's statement yesterday, it was very beautiful. And he said, we came from very different backgrounds, but we had similar ideals. So McCain was a war hero. He served this country. He survived honorably. He survived circumstances that few people could survive. And he should be honored.
When I read Obama's statement, it was like, don't we miss president with grammar and full sentences and punctuation?
With eloquence. With eloquence and who knows how, just a heart, and who knows when to say something and when not to say something. You know, with Mr. Trump, he just... he's very thin-skinned, and so he just picks fights with everyone, and it just becomes exhausting.
It's exhausting, but it's also just his tactics. He detracts. So when you actually know when a big bombshell report's coming from Washington Post or New York Times, because just pay attention to his Twitter, because that morning at 5 a.m., which I'm assuming he's like doing his business or something from the golden toilet in the White House, and he's tweeting, like the tweet storm at like 4 a.m., and you know that a story, big story that's like gonna break because he's going on a tangent like that to distract away. I mean, he was actually tweeting again about Hillary Clinton emails. Like, we're still talking about that.
Like at 1 a.m. in the morning, I think, this week. What are you doing?
Oh, God.
When does he sleep?
Exactly.
So one more item in Trump Talks, and then before we wrap up for today, was just Fox News. It's even hard to, though, like when Fox News does something right, it's like still wrapped in like this. Okay, so he did an interview on Fox where he was asked about did he know about the payments to the porn stars in the whole Michael Cohen case, and he said no, he didn't know about them, not at that time, like you knew them later, when obviously there's mounds of evidence now being released and to the contrary that he did know and was directed. Okay, so on Fox News was when he was having a softball interview with one of the reporters, where no follow-up question, by the way, when he lied. So it was just like, we know how this works. It's a pro-Trump network. They're in the tank. But they have a few people that came forward. Now, Shep Smith, we always know, is a real journalist, and he does speak out regularly. Then Brett Baer. And then also, who's the third one that's escaping me?
Neil
Cavuto. So you had three main hosts then after the interview on their network call him out for lying in the interview on their network. I mean, to be the president of, like, I almost feel for like the people running Fox News, like, is that unprecedented or what? It's like CNN saying, you lied. Like, it's like Anderson Cooper saying that Chris Cuomo. It's crazy to me. Like, you're talking about the interview that's on your network. It's like, someone get a hold. Like, can someone like rein that circus in?
It's true, but I feel like the base. Trump's base, the people who watch Fox News, they don't care.
They don't care.
I read a headline that said Trump would literally have to shoot someone, like his comment, for his base to believe it. I still don't
think they'd care.
So there's nothing that'll take them down.
I don't think they care. I think their heels are so dug in that it's just, he could say whatever, do whatever. He lied. I mean, the lies are out there.
Yeah.
The lies are out there. You see him plain as day on TV, and it's still like completely over the head.
And there's a domino effect from the lies. I feel like he can't even keep them straight.
No, he can't.
Well, when all this was breaking about Michael Cohen and Paul Manafort and all of the catch and kill stuff with David Pecker this week, I open up my morning emails, and there's a headline that's like, in an alternate universe, at Trump's rally last night, supporters were chanting, "Lock her up."
Unbelievable.
It's just like literally like as if they were in a bomb shelter in a different place that where no TVs and radio or magazines of current news were allowed, and it was like, lock her up.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it shows just how much power Fox News has over a huge part of the American electorate.
Huge.
Which is
very true.
That's
very
why
scary.
we need a commission now to regulate journalism, apparently. I mean, what is it coming to? I don't know.
With the next administration.
Yes. Okay, Anita, before we leave, Overheard Hollywood. Tell us something hot you got cooking on Urban
So I'm not
Hollywood
going to have
410.
cooking, but I've had quite a bit of coverage on this whole Boots Riley, Spike Lee tiff. Boots Riley is a director of... now it's slipping my mind. I'm sorry. Sorry to Bother You, a critically acclaimed indie film. And he kind of broke an unspoken Hollywood rule. The rule is that you don't criticize your peers in public.
Yeah.
And he took it upon himself to write a 3-page critique of Black Klansmen and how he didn't feel like the film paints an accurate portrait of police brutality and racism in America. He actually tweeted pictures of his 3-page essay last Friday. So Spike Lee, it's just very unusual, and Spike Lee took the high road and really didn't address this, even though Boots, was just all over Twitter and it was
he
trending.
getting jumped on Twitter?
A lot of people agreed with him. I read a lot of the comments, dozens of comments. A lot of people agreed.
Yeah.
So the movie Black Klansman is based on a true story, and a lot of people said that Spike took too many liberties I mean, it didn't say this is an exact true story. And this happens all the time in Hollywood, inspired by a true story based on a true story.
Yeah.
But for Boots to do this was highly unusual. And so Spike did an interview with the Times, the UK newspaper. A story was published on Friday, and he briefly addressed it. But he said, I'm not going to engage in, feuds with my peers. So,
Good. Good for him. Mm-hmm. Good for him.
So go to urbanhollywood411.com if you want to know more about this.
Yes, and Twitter @TV Anita.
Yes.
Alina, can you please tell everybody where they can find Meet the Hollywood Press?
Of course, my pleasure. You guys can find Meet the Hollywood Press on YouTube at AfterBuzzTV. You can also find it on Twitter @Meet the Hollywood Press and on Instagram at Meet the Hollywood Press. There we go.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. And next week, we're going to have a little special sort of wrap-up show of sort of the best of the summer for Labor Day, since like everyone and their mother are out of town during Labor Day. So thank you for watching. And I think that's all I have to say right now, because I lost my train of thought. So thank you.
It was great.
Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.